Hello, hello, everyone. I love the participants count going up.
That's
We
amazing.
have almost 60 people and counting here in this session with Andrea Sáez. My name is Amelia, and I'm the VP of marketing here at User Pilot. And for those of you who don't know what User Pilot is, a quick reminder, we are an AI-powered product growth platform combining product analytics with in-app engagement, onboarding builder, in-app feedback, session recording, all the tools that you need to make your user engagement better and improve your understanding of what your users are doing inside your product. But without further ado, let me introduce Andrea. Andrea is a super experienced head of product marketing, currently at Turtle, but she's worked as the head of product marketing at a number of product organizations, including road mapping tools such as PropPad, where she worked very closely with product teams. And I'm also the author of the Product Momentum Gap, a best-selling book about product growth, and herself a very, very seasoned. I can say you are a product marketer, but also a product manager, Andrea, because you build your own products like you just recently did.
You're already spoiling.
I
Spoiler
am.
alert, you guys.
Right.
Spoiler alert. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. Can you just confirm on the tech side?
Yes.
All good?
Yeah, it's all
Excellent.
good.
Thank you
Uh,
for the intro. Again, a little bit about me. As Amelia said, I'm head of product marketing at Turtle. I'm the author of the Product Momentum Gap, and I have a lot of opinions, some of which you are here to listen to today. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to look at what vibe coding is and what it isn't. We're going to look at some myth busting, so myth versus reality. We're going to look at where AI fails and what you should stop trying to do and maybe start trying to do, and what the PM job is all about and where our value as product people lives. So I'm sure you're wondering what inspired me to talk about this today. With GPT-5 rolling out, we've got Lovable, we've got Replit, we've got all these wonderful tools out there. But the flip side to that is that all of a sudden, and I say all of a sudden, but really again, because I've been listening to this for the last 10 years, product people are now useless. And vibe coding is suddenly, everything that you need to build your product and make it successful. Personally, and this is not just a biased opinion, I don't buy that. But I do want to make it very clear that this talk isn't going to be about why PMs are safe and why we're so great. And it isn't going to be a talk about why AI is bad, because it's not. What this is going to be is a talk about what AI changes, what it doesn't, and again, where our value as product people lies. So let's start with some context setting first. Definitions just to make sure we're all on the same page. Vibe coding is essentially rapid AI-assisted prototyping. You can spin up everything from designs, landing pages, features, even whole apps, as I will tell you about a little bit later, in hours instead of what could have taken months, if not years in the past. And in the case of some companies, I worked with years, but that's a separate talk. We're not going to go there today. So where does it work? It's fantastic for early exploration. It's great for visualizing an idea quickly, and it lets you move fast. And as we all know, speed is a really, really essential part of going to market. We all want that, right? We don't want to be left behind. But let's also take a look at the other side of this coin, which is where it doesn't work, right? First of all, it skips over discovery, which means you're not really taking the time to understand what the user problem actually is. You're not being customer centric, you're being most of the time user led, right? And that's a one-way ticket to feature factory land. Second is it doesn't understand strategy. And I'm going to say that again. It doesn't understand strategy. And I want to say it again so everybody really takes this in. AI does not understand strategy. It doesn't understand ambiguity and context. And that is your superhuman power in this whole thing. And lastly, it tempts PMs to jump straight into the solutioneering aspect of everything without understanding the problem. So we loop back to number one, right? There is no discovery. We're jumping straight to assumptions and then building these solutions that possibly nobody even wants. So it's amplifying one of the biggest product pitfalls, which is jumping to the solution space instead of focusing on the problem space. And this brings me to the myth busting section. So let's just kind of, go through some of the things that I've been hearing about in terms of this whole context we've been discussing. The first is that AI will replace PMs. In truth, it's going to replace ticket pushers, not product thinkers. So if you are in a position where you are writing Jira tickets and updating backlogs and translating requirements from one tool to another, then yes, you should absolutely be worried because GPT can do that even better than me, right? It's the reality. Myth number 2, soft skills are a waste and storytelling and influence are just a waste of time. Please don't ever think that. The reality is that if you cannot connect product outcomes to business outcomes, your work is going to flop, whether there's AI involved or not. Think about it this way. Executives don't care about your roadmap because it's a roadmap, right? What they care about is protected margins. They care about driving revenue. They care about improving retention. They care about reducing risk. You always have to think about what the selfish benefit is for them and storytell that back to them, right? Influence them, bring them into your ideas by shaping a narrative about what you're building actually matters and why it matters to them. And that's how we do it, right? And AI can generate slides, but it's not going to walk into a boardroom and read the room and be able to understand what's going on. We can because we're people and we can see faces and we know when someone's falling asleep. Third, stakeholders don't care about the product. I heard that recently and my heart stopped and I cried a little bit because that is not true. When somebody says that stakeholders don't care, that is a failure in leadership. Let me explain why. Again, if we map back to what I just said about selfish benefits, stakeholders in your company, CS, sales, everyone else around you, they go through the same thing. And they might not care about the technical, ins and outs, but they do care about their own outcomes. They care about their revenue growth. They care about cost efficiency. They care about going to market if you're a marketer. And our jobs as PMs is to make that connection clear. If they cannot see that, then we have to rethink how we're telling that narrative and how we're telling that story, because our job is to make sure that everyone is seeing the value. The next is speed. I know that I just said speed is important, but speed is not the only thing that matters, right? Speed without direction just means you're running into a wall really, really, really fast. And I don't know if anyone saw this, but Sam Altman, the CEO at OpenAI, recently said that AI is the fast fashion of SaaS. Like it's a good thing. That is not a good thing at all, right? What that means is that you're going to have products that are going to break down quickly. You're going to have products that are just polluting your code and giving you tech debt. And worst of all, you're eroding trust with your customers. I've always been of the belief that this idea of moving fast and breaking things should really be about moving fast and learning things. And in a way, vibe coding does actually allow us to do that. So what can AI actually do? Because it's not all, I was going to say a really bad word, but let's not go there. It's not all a bin fire. Let's go there. So first of all, AI can't uncover unmet needs. Again, it can summarize, it can cluster into themes, but it cannot sit in an interview and notice the things that weren't said, right? It cannot pick up on hesitation, on tone of voice, on frustration. And that's our job because we can read those things and we can, probe the direction of the conversation a little bit further. AI cannot connect user behavior to business outcomes. It can track events, it can generate analytics dashboards, but it doesn't know how a drop-in activation impacts retention, right? Because those are not going to be connected when you look at them just as a data set. We need to always be focusing on that connection, right? Behavior to business, and take that judgment, that context, and then make off decisions and negotiations as needed. The next is AI can't recognize when the problem is really a strategy issue. And I feel like repeating this a couple of times over again, because sometimes the problem is not going to be the button or the flow or the feature itself. Sometimes the problem might be the business model, or it could be the go-to-market that's broken. AI can optimize things until tomorrow, but it's not going to tell you where the problem actually is and what's the right problem to solve. The next, and this really should have been the first point, is that AI cannot build empathy with users. It doesn't understand frustration. It doesn't understand struggles. It doesn't understand an engineer that's burned out, or a product marketer that's burned out, or an executive who's skeptical. It's not a data set again, right? This is human connection that it is us. It's for us to build at the end of the day. The next is AI cannot shape narratives in context. As I said earlier, it's not going to know when your CEO is, phasing out and falling asleep or just blinking because they understand nothing of what you said. It doesn't understand how to manage politics or do that push-pull that we can do when we're having a conversation. And finally, AI can't synthesize ambiguity into action. AI thrives on patterns. It's purely pattern recognition. It's not going to understand ambiguity or gray areas or conflicting inputs. It's just going to do whatever it can do with the data set that it has. It's up to us to look at that ambiguity and make calls, sometimes really hard calls, and most of the time they're not perfect calls, but we have to feel comfortable with that. And every single one of these things are at the heart of product management, which takes me to the real question. Okay, so what do PMs actually do, right? First of all, discovery. We run discovery. We have to write things down. There's this idea that's been floating around, and I've seen it so much on LinkedIn recently of, skip the PRD and just build it. And I'm like, for the love of Christ, do not do that. Please write down your thinking, write down your decision-making process, write down the problem that you're solving. All of this is really, really, really important. The second is product market fit. Most people treat product market fit as a binary thing, like once you hit it, you're done and you move on. And that's not right. The reality is that product market fit is continuous. It'll evolve as your customers evolve, as your market evolves. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it'll be strong, it'll be weak. And as product people, we have to keep learning, we have to keep adjusting, we have to understand the context in which our products exist to continue to make them relevant and valuable. The next is shaping scalable and repeatable behaviors. So true growth only happens when building experiences that consistently drive the right behaviors. And every feature out there has to be changing a behavior. If it's not, then you haven't actually impacted anybody's life. So why did you build it, right? It's about creating sustainable impact. And finally, creating value. So at the heart of the role, we have solving problems. It's not building the feature, it's solving the problem and understanding that there is going to be a value exchange between the user and the business. So if at this point you're thinking my entire talk is bullshit and you're thinking, it's fine, I can just do it anyway. Look at Lovable, they're doing great. And they are doing great. And I'm not here to diss Lovable whatsoever, but I am going to give you some stories from the Crypt Keeper. If anyone remembers the 90s, good for you. We're on the same page. So here we go. This is Leo. Leo, on March 15 of this year, was super proud of his achievement. He had built an entire startup called Enrich Lead with Cursor AI, entirely vibe coded. He was living proof that vibe coding is the way to the future, right? Good for Leo. Except that 2 days later, literally just 2 days later, he's posting desperately online saying, I'm under attack, random things are happening, people are bypassing subscription, they're creating random stuff, it's costing me a lot of money. Why did this happen? Because like many vibe coders out there, he failed to understand that basic security infrastructure is actually a really important part of the process and we shouldn't be bypassing it, right? So lesson, don't be like Leo. Here's another story. This little actual Raspberry from Reddit spent $300K on a healthcare app over 18 months, spoke to no customers at all, and then realized nobody needed the solution he had built, which goes to show that yes, you can code an absolutely beautiful app, but if it doesn't solve a problem, you're wasting your time, your money, your effort, and those of the people around you for nothing, right? So how do you prevent that? Get a product manager. Talk to people. That's what we do. So to wrap it up a little bit, as we're finalizing this, what's the takeaway? AI is not replacing PMs, but it is replacing lazy PM work. The real opportunity that AI has is to let you handle the tactical while we handle the strategic, right? The empathy, the influence, the judgment. And this is where tools like vibe coding are really, really good. I love them myself. And I use them. I'll actually show you in a bit. but you cannot communicate a vision just by vibe coding, skipping all the really important steps. Like, please write all your stuff down. That's how you bring an idea to life fast. And I want to bring back this this little page again. I'm just going to go through all of these once more, because it's super, super important to understand that a prototype is not a product, right? Having the ability to get to a prototype quickly does not replace every single step you need to follow. Your product at the end of the day is a lot more than slick UI or a clever demo or a really nice looking prototype. It's the business model behind it, right? It's the business approach, it's the positioning, it's the messaging, it's the financials, it's the support plans, it's the infrastructure, it's the legal. And this is why all these people around you exist, because all of those critical pieces make the thing real. And that's why we're not going to be replaced. What makes us better is being able to communicate those ideas and use product thinking as part of the process. I once heard somebody say product management is people management, and that's very, very true. But to that, I would add the future of product management is about learning fast. It's about building trust, and it's about creating things that are of actual value and worth keeping. And that's where we shine as people. So with all of that, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, has she ever vibe coded? Actually, I have. So this weekend, I decided to have a little marathon, and I thought, what if I do this thing? And this thing is based on my own discovery. So a few weeks back, if anyone out there follows me on LinkedIn, I put out this GPT. It was completely free. And it basically just allows you to structure your thinking. So that if you have a really, really great idea, you go through it and it'll coach you throughout the entire thing. And then the final output is a template that you can then present to your team members, to your board, to your executives. And it got a really great response. So I did my job, right? I validated the idea. And I have been sitting on a set of templates for a really long time. And so I thought, let's see if I can turn that into a product. Can you see my screen? I've changed that. Cool. So here we are, Forma PM. It is an app that will take your half-formed thoughts and structure it into these beautiful documents that you can then present and tell your product story. So the problem that I've seen with a lot of product people in general is that they cannot articulate, and this is about articulation, right? Articulation of the narrative that you're trying to present to influence others. So we have currently two tools, the product coach tool, which, as I said, gives you that executive buy-in, and then something I call feature comms, which is an alignment tool that allows you to, make sure everyone's on the same page around how you're going to market, where it's being presented, how to talk about it, typical boilerplate short description on the description, what problem does it solve, key benefits, etc. So anyone in your team can look at it and go, I can take this, drop it into a GPT if you have to, drop it into ChatGPT, and it'll spit out a really nice email that you can work with. So everything that you possibly need. And I'll give you a little insight into that. So here we have the dashboard, and if I go and create my first project, hopefully this isn't going to break, fingers crossed, and I go, okay, the problem I have identified is users need reports. And what it should do is it'll tell me, hey, cool idea, but thanks, common request. But what does it mean, right? Users need reports is not a problem to solve. Are they unable to do something? Are they struggling with something? Are there negative consequences because of that? So it's actually going to coach me and get all that information out of me. And then at the end, you can either do a copy, download Markdown, or PDF, and any of these options will actually give you the final filled out template that you can then present. So it's not going to, export the chat, because that would be a little bit useless, but it'll, as you get coaching and as you talk to the AI, it's going to guide you to then create this final template. So hopefully everybody out there can create better stories. Now, the fun bit is I did all of this in 3 hours, or at least the first version. So I was able to connect to Lovable, Supabase, and Resend in 3 hours, set up the basic infrastructure, and put it out there. I then spent an additional 5 hours having to fix all the backend issues I hadn't thought about. So the positive side is the things that I was familiar with, like solving the problem, understanding the product thinking, the UI, all the things that I am familiar with, right? The positioning, the website, everything, I did quite quickly. The things that took the most are the things that I don't do on my everyday because I am not a backend expert. I am not an engineer, right? It's not up to me to know how to do those things on a day to day. So I had to learn very, very quickly how important those things are. So there you have it. I built an app, I want to say in 8 hours. And it's out, it's live, you can get it. It's $5 a month for 50 messages a day, and you can get your coaching and go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. That's very impressive. Although it kind of goes a little bit against what you mentioned earlier with, like being careful not to build products, but presumably in your experience as a PMM, you validated the need
I
for
did.
having.
Exactly. And that's what I
Mhm,
said is before building this, I validated the need. I put out a free GPT first, which
mhm,
is what this is made out of. And I've been working with product people for years now, and I can tell you that the number one problem they have is they cannot get executive buy-in from other people.
mm,
And they need to be able to present that narrative properly. Now, I am going to do a caveat in all of this and say, if this ever got to a point where I was making, fingers crossed, 1 million ARR and I hit super growth, right? Let's pretend for a minute. Let's manifest that into existence. I do not think that I would be able to continue using the setup that I have right now for the platform, right? This is in its current form really great as it is. But as I said earlier, the product is a lot more than just one person building it. You need financials, you need legal, you need support people, you need marketing people. So at some point, I'm absolutely going to have to hire a team around me if this makes it big, right? It's not going to be what it is forever, but it's okay for what it is right now. It's a little side project, it works, it's coaching, it's great. But like I said, if I want to manifest 1 million ARR out of this, I'm going to need a team. And that's when I'm
mm.
gonna have to move it out of Lovable and then create a proper product and infrastructure around that.
So in a sense, it's good for what you mentioned in your presentation, rapid validation of the
Yeah.
idea, whether people need it. So you can test traction, you can put, a lot of your ideas out there to try and see what the response from the market is, right?
Yeah,
By the way,
absolutely.
we have a Q&A, time for Q&A now. So if anyone has any questions, please plop them into the Q&A section here. And we do have a couple already. The first one is a trick question, so I'm not going to read it. But the second one,
No,
um,
read it. Please do.
can
Please.
we use your new app to replace PMs and PMMs?
Absolutely not. One thing that I do want to be very clear about is that the app is not going to do the work for you. Never, ever, ever, ever.
It's your
You still,
therapist.
it's the therapist, it's a coach, right? What it's going to do is it's going to guide you through how to form that narrative. But if
Mm,
you don't understand the problem that you're solving, it's not going to work for you. So you have to do the discovery by yourself. You have to understand the problem by yourself. You have to experiment by yourself. And then when you have all that information, all that data, you go back to the app and you go, "Hey, can you actually help me form a narrative so I can get executive buy-in? So I can
mm.
get, the rest of my company to understand just how valuable this idea is." And that's where it's helpful, but it's not going to do the work for you whatsoever.
Gotcha. And another question, would you say that PMs I guess no longer need to become much more technical now? Or was it that they do need? Not sure. That came from an anonymous attendee. As the old saying goes, a car won't take the horse's job, another horse driving a car will.
That's great.
Uh,
That's really nicely
do
framed.
you think, let's reframe it. Do you think PMs now, considering, all these rapid validation tools powered by AI, need to become more technical, or they actually don't?
I think that it is always to your benefit to understand technology, right? It's
Hmm.
always to your benefit to understand how to run an SQL query. It's always to your benefit to understand how a lot of these things work because, like myself, right? I've built this mini platform, but if I didn't understand some of those basics, then this would break very, very quickly. right? As I said, this works in its current form, and I can take payments through Stripe, and it's very, very basic. But if this ever grew, I would not be able to manage it myself. I would need engineers and infrastructure people and support and marketing and all these people around me to really make it successful. But the more knowledge you have, the more equipped you are to be able to manage things until a certain point of growth.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, of course. I mean, if you can understand the people you're working with, right, and also the limitations of the new technology, then you will make fewer mistakes
Exactly.
trying
Less
to
costly
use it.
mistakes.
Yeah,
Less
less
costly
costly mistakes.
mistakes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
trying to use it in a way that is not helpful. Akash is asking if we can get your presentation somewhere.
Yes, I can share it.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So you will find Andrea on LinkedIn as well, and we can share Andrea's presentation in the follow-up email after the session. And Johnny has a question. Do you use AI to create UI UX for Forma PM? Does it work better as UI UX designer than as a PM?
That's a really interesting question. And again, I would say that what it helped me with was being able to bring my idea to life. But it was not better than a PM because I was the PM, right? I knew what I wanted to build. I knew the problem it was solving. I knew what the positioning was. I knew what the messaging was. I knew what I wanted it to look like. And so in that sense, it didn't replace me at all. Where it was really, really handy is in being able to set up a lot of the backend stuff for me and help me with the backend fixes that I had to do.
Mm,
In particular, things like setting up Stripe, for example, right? To take in payments and setting up Resend and connecting to Resend to be able to send emails. So it is a really comprehensive backend system that I've been able to set up that, again, if I didn't have the help, then it would break. I see someone saying the flow at Forma is not working. I'll have to check that out later. This is what happens, guys. Like you just proved it. This is what happens. You're proving it live. And this is what I mean is I'm sure I'll be able to go in and fix it very quickly, but the point is that me doing it by myself is going to accelerate the time to live and the speed. But things like this, stuff breaking, if I really wanted to turn this into a 1 million ARR business, I would not be able to do it by myself. But still,
mm.
give me money because it does work when it works.
To hire the engineers that will like fix the
Exactly.
payment flow.
Give me money
Yeah.
so I can hire engineers that will fix that.
Awesome. Did you build everything with ChatGPT or a combination with other tools? I think you mentioned it was Lovable on.
Yeah, so I use Lovable, Supabase, Resent, Stripe, ChatGPT, and my own coding skills.
Impressive. And what vibe coding platform do you think is most useful or helpful at the moment?
I mean, that's a preference thing. I don't want
From
to
your
say,
perspective, of course.
I mean, I use Lovable, but it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. Things work as they work.
So I'm curious, you don't have to answer this question if it's too personal. It's not personal, but was it expensive to build Forma on Lovable?
No, I think between all of the tools, I invested about $150.
Okay,
And
that's great.
I already have one paying customer. So I made 10 back. So it cost me 140. So my plan really is to see if this works for the next 6 months max. If it doesn't and I can't grow it, I still learned something, right? I've learned a lot of really valuable stuff throughout this whole process, and I still see that as a win. And if it starts growing, I mean, even better.
For sure. And you're definitely not a tech bro because the tech bro would have said that you already have $120 in ARR. So you
I've got,
almost made the money back by
I've
now.
made $10.
Awesome. Do you have any more questions, guys, in the audience? Guys and girls, of course. Okay, we have one more. What steps have you made to ensure the platform meets the ethical and legal requirements?
Really good question. I've
Mm,
been asked this before. So when building this, first of all, I made sure that I understood what I'm inheriting from each tool. So with Supabase, you immediately inherit a lot of the enterprise grade security, which is fantastic. So Supabase is the backend stuff. So I myself do not have the SOC 2 certification, but Supabase does. So I inherited automatically. I've also made sure that in the backend, I cannot see whatsoever any of the data that you're inputting. I can't see it, and the AI is absolutely not training itself on the things that you're saying. So from that point of view, the data is safe, it's secure. You know, I've got the SOC 2 and all the GDPR compliance as well in there. And yeah, that was definitely one of the things that I made sure I had outlined from the beginning. Also, I do believe that creating positive behaviors is part of ethical building. So that's why I made sure that this is not an app that's replacing anybody, right? It's not replacing a PM. It's not going to do the job for you either, because that would be unethical. You still need to use your brain. You still need to use your knowledge. What this is doing is it's going to help you structure that thinking, and it's going to coach you through how to do things better, but it's never going to do the work for you. So the behavior that I'm creating is having someone to teach you how to do these things better, so that you can then, you know, get that buy-in and move on with your ideas much quicker.
And presumably you put in some guardrails I've seen in the pricing to protect yourself as the founder against abuse, because obviously there are bots out there, there are people that want to, you know, do damage. So with unlimited prompting, for instance, and unlimited conversations, that could get expensive
and
very
mind
quickly.
you, that I did actually have someone that noticed quite quickly that they got through some of the limitations. And they're like, hey, by the way, I skipped through that, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? So I had to go fix that, because there was an issue with the code where it wasn't respecting the free trial. So again, I learned those things very quickly, right? I had to fix it myself. Just like I'm going to have to go fix this pricing issue. Please tell me where it happened so I can go check it out. But all of that is just me. And for me, it's a really fun project that I'm managing by myself. And it's a lot of learnings, which, you know, as a product person, I appreciate the learning process through all of this.
Yeah.
It's also making me appreciate my peers a lot more, because now I know what they have to deal with day in and day out.
Yeah, so it's kind of to wrap it all up. Okay, we have another one. I'm curious to know if you got professional help to draft the documents, privacy policy, terms and conditions, etc.
ChatGPT, my friend.
It's not the stage. It's not the stage to get SOC 2, Type 2, hire an army of lawyers. Like, I think, you know, to put a bow tie on what we discussed today and wrap it all up, like, vibe coding is great for this rapid prototyping, for learning, both learning the process and learning from the users if the tool is needed, if there are any like concerns, considerations from the target users. But not treating it as a replacement for either PMs or the engineering
or for
team.
or for anyone,
or for
right?
anyone.
Again, and I just want to say this again. What I've built is a mini side project. It's a mini platform that works, but it's not something that would scale up to, you know, over 1 million ARR. It would not work. It's not going to work. That's when I would have to hire a team of people. And, you know, that's the dream, right? Have your own company, hire a team of people. I would love to be able to do that. So please give me money. but again, just I want to say it again, is it does not replace designers, engineers, PMs, PMMs. Like, it's not going to replace that. But what it has done is it's allowed me to build something that I can test and see if maybe someday I can turn it into a full-blown business. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I have learned more about what it takes to actually get there.
Amazing. Thank you, Andrea. We need to wrap things up because the time is up and we are on a tight schedule here at Product Drive today. The anonymous attendee who spotted the bug says,
yes, I see that. I see that.
Clicking the get started.
Test that now. I'll test that now.
Yeah. I had that error yesterday on another button, I think.
It works for me. Could you refresh your cache?
There we go. I didn't check again since you fixed it. But amazing session. We will be still continuing the conversation in our newsletter. So sign up for the Product Brands newsletter on User Pilot's blog, and we will for sure still have Andrea as our guest on a few upcoming events and content pieces. Stay in touch with her on LinkedIn, and yeah, get ready for the next session. Thank you so much,
check out
Andrea.
Thank
Check out
you
Forma.
for being here.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.